Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Chase. So this week we're going to cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, and ES. At the start of this video, we're going to cover the trades from last week. I highly recommend not skipping this. I think what a lot of you guys ask about, candle closes and acceptance, and I have some pretty good examples of that stuff. I think it's going to be really helpful for you to learn. Okay, and it was all called live, right? So this is no hindsight. None of that. You can have you could take the tweets that I'm going to show you, you could line it up with the chart, and you could see that, I was able to hold the Ethereum long based off of, not capitulating and waiting for the daily close. So you're gonna see how we work the closes and how we look at acceptance and rejection and all that, and so that should be helpful. All right, let's get right into it. So, starting with the Bitcoin trade that I had taken. First let me show you the chart. I had bid this gray level here. It was red in the previous chart, but colors, whatever. I had bid this level right here. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a loss, even though it was a minor loss. Ended up getting out towards break even. So the first thing was I was bidding this level. I thought, okay, well, this is where the accumulation took place for this move up. I still believe that. Just because sometimes, the market will prove you wrong, so to say, and maybe your level was wrong. In my opinion, 9 out of 10 times this provides a bounce. So I think this is just a bit of an anomaly. We'll talk more about that as we get into future predictions and whatnot. I tend to think we're building liquidity in here, just chopping this up a little bit. If you had noticed, I had put out a tweet looking like this, showing that we were potentially going to chop up this level. And so far, that's what we've been doing, is really just, chopping it up. So, point being, the reason I decided to cut this trade was because of this. When I saw this daily close down here, to me, that was acceptance through this demand, okay? Simple as that. I wanted to get out. I did wait for the bounce back. You could see I said I closed out the BTC long at 27.7. So we waited for the bounce. I can just show you that. There was the bounce, 27.7, 27.8. There it is. And we were able to get out for a minor loss, something like negative 0.2R or something of that nature. So that's great, right? But what I want you to think about is just, when you see a major move like this and you see a close this deep, that is what I consider acceptance. And I'm going to show you winning scenarios as well. If this just wicked down here and it closed up here, I would have waited. I would have said, okay, well, maybe this is just going to tightly chop, deviate, and go back up, sort of as I expected here. But this was after the close, and I thought we might scam upwards. But I had originally talked, if you watched my previous video, I had talked about potentially going through the level, tight consolidation, deviation, and moving back up. But to me, this didn't look like that. When you use the replay tool or something and you look at this, does that really look like respect of demand? No, not to me. So that was that trade. I always say that I'm not going to sit here and pray and hope for price to go in my direction. If technically it's not working out, I'm simply going to move on. So that's what I chose to do in this situation. I saw this super deep daily close through my daily level. Again, we're looking for price action that relates to how we took our entry. So if we took our entry on the daily, we're trying to follow daily candles. Okay, ding, there's your little alpha right there to start. And like I said, we're going to get into more. But yeah, when you look at the replay of this, you're like, oh, that's got to be weak. And in my opinion, 9 out of 10 times it does continue down. Again, we'll talk later about, potential what we might be doing in here, getting a little choppy. But let's move forward. So Ethereum. The Ethereum long I had taken. I said I'll deploy the other half of my risk into ETH at 1820. This was before we got to 1820, way before it. Okay? Everything's always laid out ahead of time. And there it was, 1820. So I spent, I originally got filled about 90% of my position here, and then the other 10% finally got filled. But, it was literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of And you know, crypto Twitter to a lesser degree, I'm more concerned with the technicals in the chart, but 6 days of reading on crypto Twitter that we're going to 1300, just endless bear euphoria and whatnot. And I understood some of it because Bitcoin had broken down through support, in my opinion, but Ethereum was still quite clean. We had a daily swing low, we had a daily support before this move up, and then we had another low built up here. So now we had equal lows, and right when this got swept here, I knew we were making our move up. And you know, easy entries, easy exits. Okay, so we took the entry right below the swing, and take the exit right here. I told you guys on Twitter, I said I'm exiting. I started 70% at 1910, and then took the rest right into here around 1930. Okay. So the point of the whole, you know, the candle close, or to talk about the candle close and the acceptance thing here. I want to zoom in real quick and look at the 4 hour, and you know, not a lesser trader, but a less experienced trader or something, or someone who doesn't have the knowledge of this, they might have saw these 4 hour closes and they said, oh, this is acceptance. We're below the swing. We're starting to close into the daily demand rather than seeing a bounce. And what I told you guys on Twitter, I told you that the PA was looking weak. But what I said was that I'll cut on a daily close today if we're unable to reclaim the swing low and we bearish close into daily demand. And then the other important thing here was I said, while there's risk in waiting that amount of time before choosing to close or not, I don't see many other ways to play this that could provide me with confidence in my decision. And the reason is because this trade was developed on the daily time frame. That was what my entry was based on. It was based on the daily demand. It was based on the daily swing low. It was also based on a weekly demand that I had drawn out. So I wasn't going to close this just on a 4 hour because that's not acceptance to me. Now, there's going to be times, this is where, sorry, my allergies are kicking in a little bit. This is where there's going to be times where if you wait for the daily close, you're simply going to get stopped out. Okay, it's going to happen. So you have to sort of measure your risk reward and try to find a balance to think, okay, well, I took this trade on the daily. I just have to wait for the daily close, and that's it. And when I talk about finding a balance, I mean more for entries rather than getting out of a trade. It's more like, let me flash over to ES real quick. And show you guys something. So this was the market structure break on ES. I had also drawn that out somewhere on my Twitter. I had literally drawn it like this. You'd have to look, drew down, and then have it going to here. But again, it was way before the fact. It was literally on this candle I drew it. So I said watch for the market structure break. How did I find this short? And this is getting back to the candle close thing again. What I looked for was I saw acceptance once this candle started closing. Now I could have waited. Again, you could wait for like a 4 hour close, but you know, this close is not, it's too close to the level for acceptance for me. And this close is just the whole move is almost played out already. So that's what I'm saying when there's a balance between going off of a close, the lower the time frame, a bit more risky you're going into, but you're going to catch the move if it plays out. Okay, so when exiting, you want to make sure your exit is based off the criteria of the same time frame that you entered. Okay, so going back to F, if the daily closed down here, I would have cut the trade, but the daily did not close. The daily held, and actually it moved to target, and that was here was the ES drawing. So there was ES and played to target perfectly. Okay, so again, no hindsight. What the stuff that I'm teaching you guys here works. I don't feel like I'm super. I don't feel like I'm super on point today, to be honest. But hopefully, getting the point across. So yeah, and then fully TP'd the F long, right? But the point is here is that I didn't close based off of local weakness. So just because there was low time frame weakness, this was still a daily trade. So I held to see how the daily was going to play out. There will be times where that just stops you out by the time the daily has closed. That's going to happen. But there's also times where a lot of lesser experienced traders are going to bail. They're going to close here for a loss. They're going to close here for a loss. And then it's going to make the move straight to target. Okay? And, we held for the daily close, and it played perfectly. The difference, in my opinion, between, if you're saying, oh, why not do that for BTC? The difference between BTC and ETH was, in my opinion, on ETH, the daily swing, or not in my opinion, it's a fact, the daily swing and the daily demand held. On BTC, we didn't see that. We saw a clean break through the daily demand. So we took the opportunity to get out towards break even. Okay? So that is 3 scenarios of candle closes right there. A close below, just obvious weakness. I look to cut. Okay? I get out, I cut. Simple as that. When looking at ETH, I was waiting for the close. It never closed through. It never closed inside. It never closed below the swing. No matter how bearish CT was, no matter how shitty the lower time frame looked, it didn't matter because it was a daily time frame trade, and I played it from daily liquidity to daily resistance. Okay, very simple concept as well. A lot of the times trades are going to go from just liquidity to resistance, or liquidity to liquidity. There's still an opportunity for this trade to go liquidity to liquidity, which in my opinion would be up here. So you would have liquidity to liquidity. But the easy entry, easy exit, as I like to play, is from just sweep of liquidity to daily resistance. Okay? And daily resistance, I had it marked all in here, and that's where I took my profits. Okay, so let's see. We talked about BTC. We can close that. Leave. This was BTC, closed at break even, towards break even. This was the ETH trade. This was the ETH trade. This was taking profit on the ETH trade. This is the ETH chart. Don't need this. I just wanted to have everything prepared beforehand so we can get into the upcoming stuff. This was ES trade, played out cleanly. And note how I was able to play the ES short, the ES short and the ETH long at the same exact time. Because I prioritized the chart in front of me. ETH was into support. ES was a market structure break. Okay, so we played the long, we played the short. They both worked out. Instead of letting the noise get to you and all that, and thinking about what everybody else has to say, just focus on the chart in front of you. And again, utilize the time frame that you entered on, or the time frame that the idea was developed on, when looking for these things like acceptance and invalidation. Okay, I think that sums up the thoughts a bit. Sip of water. Everyone hydrate. Okay, so let's start with Bitcoin. We have some simple levels marked here. I've been drawing this fib, high to the low, 618. It's confluent with this support over here that should flip to resistance as we move up. You also have one of your fair value gaps in here. This is where I think this leg should top out if it was to continue. The issue, and obviously you have some liquidity here as well. I suppose the issue I have with current price action is I don't really have a strong read on where we go. In my opinion, it sort of just looks like we're, chopping within the weekly demand. If you marked this out, you could have your weekly demand here. You went all the way through the equilibrium on the weekly demand. Again, another sign of weakness. When this move was taking place, it would have been another sign that said, we're pushing through the equilibrium of this weekly demand. That's not strong. So the fact that BTC did make its strong recovery here, but it's been chop, honestly. This was some choppy price action. If we just look at it and we zoom in here, just support, 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 support. in my opinion, this was what was supposed to hold. Flips to resistance, but plow through it like it's not even there, and then show it no respect on the way back down either. And then just, it's like the level's just getting chopped up. It's sort of as I expected with that one tweet that I showed you guys, that we're just, once the level's sort of cooked, in my opinion, it's just that. It's hard to trust it from there forward. So, and I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, we swept this liquidity. I guess that's what you could say, but it's weird. Why not just sweep it all, right? So Bitcoin is very suspect to me at the moment. I definitely don't have a solid read on this. What I would say is, just moving up to a high time frame, is that I think this level is just too obvious. I think triggers for me here are like, let's say we either sweep liquidity and reclaim. I think that's a trigger. Obviously it won't be that pretty, but you know what I mean. We could sweep it, but front run this level. Like, we don't give like a clean test like that. We just do a little whoop, whoop, something like that. It goes. Or it pushes through it, and that reclaim is your trade. That would be pretty high confidence for me, in my opinion. If we were able to work into here, flip this back to support, I think anything from there is a move up. And obviously it depends what gets taken out, right? If we take out this liquidity on deviation and we come back down below, you can probably play that to here, or play that to the liquidity level. That's your easiest exit, is the liquidity level. Just some scenarios for Bitcoin, but I'll be honest, I don't have much for the lower time frames here, and I'm not going to just pull things out of my ass because that, I know people are trading. I'm not trying to give any advice that I don't have belief in. Okay, so let's move on to ETH, see if there's anything over here. ETH, in my opinion, can be printing a little bit of a more a local picture that we can work with more. I still see this, and I see the weekly just resistance, flips to support here. And then I have this low marked out, the 1760 low. I was starting to think that the 1760 low wasn't as big of a deal anymore because, it was on the 4 hour, and there's so many of them, right? It was on the 4 hour, but we sort of like had gotten away from it. And, I thought, okay, this is just left behind. It'll eventually be taken out. And when I think about this stuff, I think, okay, well, there's a lot of lows here, but since we're so far away from the lows, we have to go up to a higher time frame to find support anyway. So we're actually less concerned with the lows, and we're more concerned with like a weekly or a daily support or something, because it just becomes, it becomes less important on the higher scale that you look at. Yes, will these lows be taken out eventually? Yes, most likely. But we need to find confluence of a weekly or a daily support of something of that nature that's going to support price. I don't think it's just about the lows anymore. It would be just about the lows if price dumped from here and sweep them. Then it's just about the lows. We don't care because it's local. But when you get away from them so much, they're not as important anymore. Market starts to care less. But this low actually, reignites a little bit of my thought process that we may be headed back towards here. Okay, so what I did was I zoomed out and I said, okay, well, what do we have that's confluent with that? Well, we have the previous weekly resistance flipped to weekly support here, and you have this little low right here. I'll go over to Bitcoin, take a look at this. The weekly low taken out, okay, into sort of your weekly demand, but somewhat of the same scenario. Is that you have this weekly low taken out, and then it moves up. Perhaps weekly low taken out, perhaps into the prior resistance, flip to demand here, and that's where we get a move up. I would look to play this towards somewhere around here, 20, 30-ish, 2K-ish, around there. So that's my local trade idea for Ethereum. Again, I say local, but obviously it could probably take up to a week or something. Tend to think we're just going to chop into the weekend. But hey, market's been pretty illiquid, I want to say. It looks like people are just, pushing around these derivatives with spot. And, just sort of getting stops and liquidations and all that to trigger. Basically, building liquidity for a larger move in the future, perhaps. Maybe we're in like the building liquidity phase, and I sort of ever since I drew that sort of chop out where I had it going below and chopping above and coming back down, and I sort of had the idea that we might be entering a bit of a liquidity building phase. Could certainly be wrong, but just the thought process I'm using right now that also gives me confluence for this potential trade, because if we are building up liquidity in here and we're taking lows and highs, then we're going to want to do one final major sweep of all these lows before making the move upwards, okay? And maybe I drew that a little bit too high, but at least to here, right? At least towards like 20, 30s. Obviously your exit is in here. TP1 over this liquidity, TP2 at this resistance right here, okay? So that's Bitcoin, that's Ethereum. Again, on a high time frame scale, if you're looking for sells, I like 2400-ish, 618. Again, the structure's pretty similar on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think the Ethereum trading has been cleaner lately. You can just see that from the daily time frame and how, Bitcoin had a pretty, disrespected this pretty hard. And Eth's been a little laggy, a little bit slow, but at least it's been trading more cleanly. Like I said, we swept that swing low into the daily demand. We move up. This is weekly resistance, flip to support. Maybe we take out these equal lows. That's our final sweep. All these lows, these lows, these lows, and move up into here and into here. Okay, that's the plan for Eth. Give me 1 second. Blow my nose to allergies. Okay, ES. I'll be honest with you. When it comes to ES, I didn't take this long because I thought that this is just a 4-hour demand, right? It's also, you can mark it as a 4-hour demand. There's your 4-hour demand, right? Pretty perfect. You can mark it out as a weekly fair value. There it is like that. Okay, again, guys, a lot of the stuff is concepts that work are concepts that work. You just have to have the eyes to typically identify them. You saw me have this level marked out when we were, up here. So, and I had it marked out as just the 4-hour demand, simple as that. But yeah, seeing this just never taken has been a bit weird, especially since, I used to view it like this. I used to say, okay, well, high, sweeps of the high, let's go sweep the low. Never did. Point being, that's the reason why I didn't take this long, even though I should have. I only played the short on the market structure break, and we can dig into that just real quick. I know I showed you guys before, but let me just show you this. So you had a high. I taught this last week. I'll teach it again real quick. Market structure, guys. You have a high, you have a low, higher high, higher low, higher high. When price takes out the previous high's low, the previous high's low, that is when market structure break takes place. But we did not yet have acceptance. These little wicks are hints. These are hints that we're moving down soon, most likely. But you don't just immediately get the move down, because you get shorters, you stop them out. Shorts enter, they get stopped out. Shorts enter, stopped out. Shorts enter, stopped out. Shorts enter, stopped out. When you see this, okay, that's real acceptance. Somewhere in here, somewhere in here. Then you get a long board. You put your stop rate above here. It's as simple as that. You should have been able to catch, if waiting for acceptance, quote unquote, and you should have been able to catch 3/4 of the move. That's the meat of the move, okay? So, yeah, that's simple, right? Simple market structure break play, wait for acceptance, play the short to the demand. Did not play the demand back up because I did have somewhat of a bearish bias, thinking we could start heading back down towards these lows, but we also have these highs that are pretty untapped, so there could be some unfinished business above 42.50, as I talked about on Twitter at some point. So we'll see what happens in here. Reclaiming this market structure break is pretty bullish for the most part. I tend to think this is a little squeezy
We're not seeing any retracement whatsoever yet. What we want to look for here is probably something like this. Retest, but we probably don't trust the first retest. It'll bounce. It'll stop the people out who trust the level on the first try, retest of that nature, and then it'll come up. And then somewhere in here, if you're waiting for the confirmation, you could either play the sweep, but it's a little more risky, obviously, or you could play like this is your quote-unquote confirmation somewhere in there. You're going to see some type of action like, okay, so we come down into the level, we sweep the level. It's going to pump off of that, and then look for sort of like, it's sort of like an inverse head and shoulders, right? You should find that level right there should give you somewhat of a bounce, okay? Or you could look for like, a fair value in there or something of that nature. Yeah, that's the plan for ES. So we have ETH plans, we have BTC just pretty flat, seeing what develops, but we have ETH plans and we have ES plans, waiting on those. Hopefully the candle close, acceptance, and invalidation stuff was helpful. Please let me know in the comments. Like and retweet the tweet. As always, big shout out to Prime XBT and Bybit for sponsoring these videos. If you sign up and deposit over there, that is a big help to me. Keeps these videos coming for free. Yeah, let me know what you think. Comment, all that good stuff. I'm happy to answer questions in the comments to the best of my ability. And we'll catch you guys next week. All right, peace out.